Being cosmopolitan. Today we will talk with Trevor Noah, a man who I think is a cosmopolitan. Trevor Noah is South African comedian, writer, producer, political commentator, actor, and television host. He is best known for being the host of The Daily Show on Comedy Central since September 2015. He was born on February 20, 1984, in Johannesburg. His mother, Patricia Noah, is black and of Xhosa ethnicity, and his father, Robert, is white and of Swiss-German ethnicity. His parents' interracial relationship was illegal at the time of his birth and appetite. His mother was jailed and fined by the South African government, and his father later moved back to Switzerland. Noah was raised by his mother and maternal grandmother. When Noah was 10 or 11 years old, his mother chose to convert to Judaism. Noah spent his early youth at the private Maryville College, a Catholic school in Johannesburg. During his childhood, he attended a Roman Catholic church every Sunday. Noah began his career as an actor, presenter, and comedian in his native South Africa. Both Trevor and his mother suffered from the domestic abuse from his stepfather. After Trevor's mother remarried, his first stepfather shot her in the head and threatened to kill Trevor too. As a result, Trevor left Johannesburg for Los Angeles. In 2011, he relocated to the United States. On January 6, 2012, Noah became the first South African stand-up comedian to appear on The Tonight Show. In 2015, he was announced as the successor of the longtime host Jon Stewart in The Daily Show. His book, Born a Crime, was published in November 2016. It is an autobiographical comedy book about stories from a South African childhood. The book became the #1 in the New York Times bestseller. Trevor Noah is regarded as one of South Africa's biggest exports. The boy from the townships who made it big in the US and ended up hosting The Daily Show, one of the most influential news programs on American television. He is recognized as a speaker calling for ending appetite, ending domestic abuse, anti-racism, and appeal for more conversations between people of different backgrounds. At first, we focus on the need and ways to communicate between different peoples, as well as recognize and learn from these differences. Hi Trevor, let's talk about your book. Why do you want to write the book, Born a Crime?
To share and connect with people. Genuinely, a lot of people, and I understand, had no clue where I had come from. People just saw this random human being who popped up on The Daily Show and on another continent. I never thought that stories of domestic abuse that I went through and my mother endured were things that would connect with people in places all over the world.
Trevor, you said the quickest way to bridge the race gap was through language, and you learned several languages because you grew up in a house where there is no option but to learn them. So what do you think of the role that language plays in our life?
People have been programmed to identify language and the way people use language with who they are or what people believe they are. And so, depending on how I speak, depending on where people see me and how they see me, could even be how I wear my hair, that could determine.
In the end of your book, you wrote you chose to be black, a state of mind that has so much more to do with your lived experience than someone else's notion of who you were and are. You also once said, "My father was white, so when I see a white person, I don't automatically think bad guy. I think he looks like my dad, maybe he'll buy me a bike." With a multicultural background, what do you think of racism?
It's a ridiculous thing when you think about it because it is artificial, it's a construct, but it's simple. And a lot of the time, a lot of stupid ideas are exactly that. They are simple, and that is why they work so well in terms of convincing people to continue.
There are a lot of conflicts or hatreds come from ignorance of others. How do you think we can know more about each other?
But it's a conversation that needs to be had, and that conversation is race. That conversation is understanding the very fiber of the country you are living in. Those conversations need to be had with your friends and family. Access to information on how bad the world actually is, which I know is a strange thing to say, but that's honestly what I believe. As a young person, and as someone who makes a show for young people, one of the most powerful tools I've realized is information. We come from an age where there was misinformation, disinformation, and there is some of it today. But now, more than ever, young people communicate across borders, across continents. You see people in England and in America and South Africa tweeting, talking to people in Myanmar. You see people speaking.
Second, let's find out Trevor's idea about local and cosmopolitan. How important do you think the sense of local is for people?
History of slavery and America and the slave trade as a whole, you come to realize how much you took for granted something that you never even thought of as a privilege, and that is knowing your story.
Knowing who we are is the base for us to accept new things. In your opinion, why should we have a cosmopolitan orientation?
I mean, my mom and I used to fight about it all the time. I would say to my mom, why leave the hood? We're supposed to stay in the hood and work to get things better. And my mom would say, but you as a young man, the hood won't let you leave. As soon as you start progressing, the hood's going to suck you back in. It'll find a way. And it'll find a way to get you wrapped up in something that you shouldn't be wrapped up in. And that was really why my mom pushed me.
At last, let's draw our attention to our obligations to other people and the future of the world. What can youngsters do to the world?
Paralyzed by the feeling that you can do nothing. There are many things you can do. There are many stands that you can take. Look for situations where you can become part of the change you want to see. So look to organizations that need your help. Look to small things that you can make. We always look at the biggest change that needs to be made, and we realize it's impossible, and so instead we do nothing. And a lot of the time it's like working out. It's impossible to change your body overnight, but you can start by just walking a little bit every day. And it's small things like mentoring a young child in your community, going out.
Do you have any suggestions to the youngsters?
Educating yourself, be reading up, because that is the tool. That is literally how the leaders in South Africa worked the liberation movement. It was just reading. It was through an exchange of thoughts and ideas. And if young black Americans can continue to enrich themselves with information, that information genuinely is. I always say to people, it's such a simple solution.
What's your prospect of the world?
I believe it's always getting better, but in many ways, the world is like the body. You cannot see the change when you look at it every single day, but if you take snapshots, you can see how things are getting better. They're engaged in a way that people were never engaged before, engaged in a way where they understand that they can actually change the course of history as opposed to just being a part of it. It's a beautiful experience to see that's taking place across continents. In my home country, South Africa, we see the same thing. Young people standing up and saying, we don't accept the status quo. We can change our destiny. We can change the future.
Thanks, Trevor Noah, for joining us today. Cosmopolitanism is for the mutual respect, understanding, and assistance among people in the world. We need to interact in terms of respect with those who see the world differently. In addition, we all have obligations to people near and far. When responding to those strangers, we should keep in mind what Adam Smith called reason, principle, conscience, the inhabitant of the breast.